So good Sunday morning. Before I go run, I wanted to give you a just chew. Normally I would just type this out, but I thought this was something that I would just like to look into your eyes and say to you. One of the things that I was talking to a good friend of mine about a few weeks ago, we were talking about the fact that crying is a release valve that God has given us to help us deal with our pain and our suffering and our shame. And he said to me, man, I can't tell you the last time I cried. And I said to him, I said, brother, let me tell you something. You better learn how to lament. And that brought me to my point today. Far too many of us, particularly believers, know how to cry. Because one of the things that when we cry, it makes us feel vulnerable and weak. But it's interesting because God's word clearly says to us is when we are weak that he is strong. And so I have made it a point to no longer let crying be a sign of weakness in my life. That if I feel like crying, I cry. I tell the young men and men that I speak to all over this country, you better be careful of a man who tells you he doesn't cry, because that's a man on the verge of exploding. Because just like a pressure valve, that pressure has not been released, it's in danger of exploding. When you hold in, when you don't use the release valve that God has given us, our tears, crying, you open up the door to explode. Let me tell you something. Real hope is interesting. As I studied this and I look at this and I've looked at it in my own life, that real hope is found in the very conditions that cause hopelessness. Wow. I've got some P's that I use: pain, process, prayer, purpose, power. In order to get to purpose and power, one first must experience pain. It's through that pain, it's through that hopelessness, it's through working through that gets us to a place of hope, of purpose, of power. Let me encourage you to go ahead and cry. Release that valve today. Understand that your tears are just a release of all the pain and shame that you bear, that you really don't want nobody else to know about. As always, my friends, serve, care, and love. Go ahead